Hello, my name is Odelia in Tiamo. I've been in the media space for the past 24 years. I've interviewed presidents, been to 14 countries, and many more. Today, I bring you 4 hacks about communication. How to really ace it in the boardroom, on the stage, and indeed everywhere, because life is about communication. Well, let's hit it. Now, if you really want to communicate, one of the key things that you could also be using is props. Imagine you're on a stage and you need to express something on your slide and your slides refuse to work the way you're looking for. This could save you. This one has Mrs. written on it. Imagine you're doing a presentation on married women and some demographics or data, and you forget all the data, it's not on top of your mind, or your slides have gone off. Once you have some props working with you, it will make the communication easier. It will also make people really connect, especially when it's about data and people are struggling to really come along. Props work just fine. So that is one of the things you can use. The other thing you should also be looking at is using hand gestures. So let's say you want to talk about something that is tiny, you could do that. Let's say you want to talk about something in relation to drawing things closer to you. You could actually also be doing that. Your facial expression is also very, very important. I remember when I used to be a journalist actively, many people used to say that we watched you because you were passionate. It wasn't just about passion concerning the particular story I was telling, but my facial expression, the way I moved my body, the way I actually got involved could tell everybody that this story, the journalist was part of it, the journalist was there and was really a part of whatever was going on. So you will have to use your hand gestures, facial expressions, and of course every single time. The next thing is you will have to check your tone. Now, I remember so well, we used to have a lecturer at the University of Ghana who was teaching us geography. Now, that particular subject was a bore. I think he was teaching quantitative methods, yes. And every single time he came into the class, he knew that people would just hit the snooze. They will go to sleep. So what he will do is, at the beginning of the class, he's not talking really on top of his voice and his tone is just normal. You're straining and you're really interested in wanting to catch up and really go along with him. Then by the time he has done about an hour and a half, you are almost becoming drowsy and wanting to sleep. Well, what he begins to do is to raise his voice and get you involved. Facial expression, movements up and down in the class, that is what he will do. Now, when it got to the point where he had just about 30 minutes to actually exit the class, his voice will be raised, his hands will move, he will cause that you tag along, and that is how we always remembered Professor Jesse when he came to class. That is a great communication, especially when you're talking about a subject matter that is so boring. Yes, so the next thing you should also be looking at is when you get invited by my favorite people, the media. Now, when anybody invites you to come for an interview, one of the first things you should have at the back of your mind is that interview, if it is a live interview, will not be edited, and you should represent the best of yourself. So if you know the subject matter that you're going to be interviewed on, why don't you read? Get your data, get your facts, get everything that will make you look good in front of the cameras. Now, rehearse. Keep rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing till you get there into the interview room. Now, the other thing that I will want to talk to you about is the fact that when you go for that interview, you need to know, which is, well, a bonus hack. You need to know about who is going to interview you. I remember I interviewed Zainab Badawi of the BBC. Before I went out to interview her, I read about her as a journalist at the BBC. I watched several of her hard talk, how she asked questions, and I gave it back to her in the same measure, pressed down, shaking together. Now, when you are sitting at that other side of the desk, you need to ask yourself, how does this person do their work? What detailed questions will they ask? Like Zainab, a lot of reading and a lot of scenarios that corners you and will not give you the opportunity to escape. So the next time you're thinking about doing anything public speaking, remember, prepare, and get to know your audience. Move, the final hack. When you get onto the stage to talk to the public, for example, do not just go on stage. Connect with the audience before you get to the stage. Go and familiarize yourself, and then when it is time to do that interview, you even have to speak, you even have someone that you're keeping eye contacts with. I hope you've learned one or two things that helps you to communicate well. Let's make a date another time as I bring you many more things. My name is Odelia Intiamwa, and this is Odelia's Conversations.